The trade market for relievers is going bonkers. So does that mean the White Sox should entertain trading Grant Taylor? Let's discuss on today's episode of Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and contributor for SouthsideShowdown.com, part of the FanSided Network, and also I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press, and thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to hit the like button on today's episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. Additionally, follow or subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast platforms. Relievers are going for a crazy return, and there was a rumor from Ken Rosenthal that teams were all over the White Sox for Grant Taylor. So should the team entertain dealing him today? Let's discuss in the first segment. Then yesterday's 9-3 victory was another example of hope that I want to talk about. And finally, got some more information on Gage Ziehl, the prospect pitcher the White Sox got for Austin Slater to share with you. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. All right, so right off the bat, I am with the White Sox for reportedly feeling uncomfortable for even talking about trading Grant Taylor, as the Athletics' Ken Rosenthal reported. I mean, I get the logic. Some of you are out there really excited in Sox social media world because, hey, it is technically a chance to truly multiply an asset. I mean, you can already take a very good young pitcher who throws at 100 miles an hour and actually multiply him for maybe 2, 3, even more promising young players. However, you got to start establishing your core, and Taylor has the stuff to already be your best high leverage closer arm, and there's still a possibility he could be a high-end starter. Remember, the White Sox have not officially slammed the door on Taylor being a starter. The only reason why they moved him to the bullpen was basically that was what his arm was telling you. His arm was starting to say, you know what, I don't know if it can handle a major league workload. You know, there was some arm fatigue settling in. And plus, moving him to the bullpen got him to the big league sooner. And I know this year is lost, but it is also about identifying core players. And, you know, you've got a guy that looks like he's going to be a core player, whether he's going to be in your bullpen. And remember, the White Sox need cheap, high leverage relievers to get the most important outs just as much as they need a high-end starter. And the other thing is sometimes you don't take the potential lottery cash out for maybe a guess at the mystery prize, because that's what I'm seeing some allude to, that you've already got a winning lottery ticket. You know, it's kind of like, let's make a deal though. But what's behind the mystery door? And yeah, the mystery prize could be an even better return of prospects who really realize their potential, or could just be a box. Family Guy reference for those scoring at home. Remember, it could be another boat. We'll take the box. You know, so now that doesn't mean Chris Getz should not have his Godfather price. I mean, I'm not saying, he's untouchable. But I'm very skeptical that teams would meet it, because you do have a small sample size of Grant Taylor at the big league level. And that small sample size might not be to the level of, say, what the Minnesota Twins were able to do to get a team to be like, yeah, I'll give you top 100 prospect Eduardo Tate along with Mick Abel, like the Phillies just did for Yohan Duran. And that's an established closer. Or how about, yeah, I feel comfortable giving you Jesus Baez, Nate Doem, and Frank Elisat. I probably butchered those names, for Ryan Helsley, like the Mets just did with the Cardinals. Or Jose Buto, Blade Tidwell, and Drew Gilbert for Tyler Rogers, just like they did with the Giants. You know, the Mets sent to the Giants. So basically, that's the other thing. Those deals that I just mentioned that everybody's dreaming about and fantasizing that, hey, you could get that for Grant Taylor or even Mike Vassell. Well, unless you want more pitchers in the system, I don't think you're realizing what you're asking for here. Because, first of all, the only reason, part of my Godfather offer that I would need, or my godfather price to give up Grant Taylor, is I need bats and strictly bats. And the deals that I just rattled off, only one position player in each of those deals were traded. Each of them. It was 2 pitchers, 1 position players. Because teams are willing to give up pitching, because I forgot, I forgot which Mets beat writer tweeted it out. I apologize. I looked for it again. I remember seeing it, and maybe I was delusional on coffee. I don't know, but I could have sworn I saw it. Teams like the Mets feel like they can always replicate more pitching prospects. And a lot of teams, I think, are starting to see that. You can develop pitching a lot easier now these days than hitting, as long as you have a good pitch lab and also people in your organization who understand pitch construction. And hey, the White Sox have just developed a pitch lab and they got Brian Bannister. But they need hitting. They need more bats. And as we're seeing too, hitting is just, it's getting harder and harder to develop because of the stuff that's being constructed in these labs. And that's why teams are still clinging to a lot of these bats, especially once they get above AA. Although this trade market is going, like I said, it's going nuts. But they will move, as you see, contenders, no problem moving high-end pitching. Especially if they can get relievers back. Because those guys have to get the toughest outs in October. And again, guys, this is why I'm also advocating, another reason why I'm not a fan of the team potentially exercising Luis Robert Jr.'s $20 million option, because you could take some of that money next year and invest in some more veteran bullpen arms to flip. Because what you're seeing a lot is contenders are noticing that, hey, the most important out in October might not come in the 3rd inning. Yes, starting pitching matters, but the most important outs might come in the 6th, 7th, or 8th, and even the 9th. I got to have lockdown guys in those situations, so they're willing to pay the high price. But the same thing when it comes to the bats, that I would have a high price for Grant Taylor. It doesn't look like contenders are going to bundle them. Looks like they'll bundle pitching. And you can never have enough pitching, but for Grant Taylor, if I'm moving on from him, a core piece, I want to know that I'm getting potential core pieces back in my lineup. And I would want multiple top 100 prospects. And I'm not sure teams will give that up. And if they do, it's likely still going to be at A ball. Because I believe Eduardo Tate, if I did my research right, he became the first top 100 prospect to be dealt in, I believe, like 2 years. But the Phillies catcher is at high A. And by top 100 prospect, I mean at the trade deadline. Those guys obviously get moved in the offseason. They've not been recently moved in before the trade deadline. And those high A guys, teams can still move on from them because there's still a little bit of unknown. But it's going to take a little bit of time. And now, while you and I do have time with this rebuild, do you want to wait that much longer? And also ask yourself, how many contenders have a lot of top 100 guys and will bundle them for Taylor? I looked it up. You only got the Mariners, Phillies, Cubs, and Dodgers with that type of inventory. Possibly you could get the Padres if A.J. Preller really wanted to be a gambling man, because he's going after Mason Miller. They got 2 guys in the top 20. And maybe the Mets, they still got 2 bats in the top 100. And hey, in that case, you do got some bold GMs, but I can also see them being smart enough to go, you know what? Let's talk about Steven Wilson, Chris Getz, once they hear the asking price. That's the thing that you also got to understand, that they may pivot to, you know what, Dan Altavilla, he's been commanding the ball a lot better. And I know I'm speculating, and I'm trying to apply some rationale. And right now, rationale, I don't think applies when it comes to the Mets and the Phillies right now. They are having a major arms race. So I guess I'm just leaning toward, I don't think the Godfather package happens. And also in this instance, let's start moving forward with guys that have been identified as players who can help this team in 2027 and 2028. And let's not roll the dice with hypotheticals. Talent that can help this team win in a few years was on display. And let's discuss a win that provided hope of better days. And that's after the break. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, You just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. And look, I remember my buddy and I thought we got this great deal playing 18 holes at Chapel Hill in Johnsburg, Illinois. It was like $25 to walk. Well, Chapel Hill is a very long course. It has one of the longest par fives in the state of Illinois. I believe that par five, even from the white tees, is like 625, and it's a little hilly. And I remember when we were teenagers, we were thinking, hey, we can walk 18 while carrying our bags. Well, I remember going up the 17th par five, going up that final hill and being like, man, I am out of gas. I really could have used at that time a 5-hour energy transfusion then, as I was dragging. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down that bev cart. And if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your first order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, make sure to hit the like button on today's episode and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And if you can't catch the show on YouTube, Locked On White Sox is available on all major podcast platforms. So make sure to follow or subscribe on places such as Apple or Spotify. Either way, get your 30-minute fix of Chicago White Sox baseball venting with me. So yesterday's win is why you and I should have hope. Yes, hope. Hope might be a dangerous thing, but it's something they can't take away from you. And Kyle Teel, Colson Montgomery, Edgar, Quero, Miguel Vargas all went yard. And the Sox take the series against the Phillies with a 9-3 thumping yesterday. Do the happy dance. That's my sad happy dance. Kind of. I know it's sad, but hey, happy dance. I mean, this is where I'm going to go full meatball here because the White Sox have also reached 40 wins on the year. They reached 40 wins in July. I mean, think about it. I know I said I didn't want to mention the 2024 season really ever again, but you and I had to wait until September of last year to get to 40 wins. I mean, think about what you and I have been through, especially the everydayers. You and I were talking about the 1916 Philadelphia A's and the 1899, Cleveland Spiders, and the Sox possibly breaking the terrible win percentage record of the 1916 Philadelphia A's. And we don't have to do that this season. There's hope. I'm going to make the assumption that the White Sox will obviously pass their win total from last year before the season ends. They might even reach the holy grail of 60 wins. Oh! And for those that are sitting on that over-under, especially if you did the over on that, I think it was 48 or 49 win mark, you have got to be liking where you are at right now. And the other thing is just a quick side note. Bravo for the White Sox actually getting this game in. It was a 3-hour and 35-minute rain delay. It almost looked like, hey, this is just another Jerry trying to get you to show up for some concessions, pay for your parking, then be like, oh, game canceled. But they got it in rather than potentially playing down a few veterans, getting pulled if they do make some trades today, because the game probably would have been made up today. So obviously, good for them to get this game in. And right now, you got to love the development of these four core players. Obviously, there's some critiques, but at the end of the day, you still got to love that Kyle Teel and Edgar Quero are starting to actually show that they can hit for some power. And hey, this is again one of the critiques. They're both in the lineup. I mean, just keep doing it, Will Venable. Just keep penciling both of them into the lineup together. Because again, Quero's a switch hitter. The only time that they should not be in the lineup together is if you don't want to have Teel face a lefty, if you're just not comfortable with him hitting against lefties. But otherwise, embrace that you can have both of them. I will run the risk of maybe you have to sacrifice your catcher like they did for one game. It's a risk. But this thing, there's enough at bats. Okay, but the next step is showing that maybe you can win some games. Like I said, learning to win, being more competitive in these games. That is the next step. And as you've seen the last couple of days, the White Sox offense seems to be a little bit better when both of them are in the lineup. I mean, if you don't want to play Teel in the outfield, or Quero or Teel at first base because there's a lot on their plate to learn just even catching at the big league level. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But get both of those bats in the lineup. Keep getting them reps and keep getting everybody used to. And I like how they've had one at the top, one at the bottom of the order. It's been actually a nice lineup construction there. And I love how Miguel Vargas keeps raging against turning into a pumpkin. Because obviously, I don't know. I keep saying I hate to sound like a broken record, but again, I don't know if he's going to ever be a 3 to 6 F4 player like he was showing during that hot streak after he made the adjustment with his swing. But he's definitely proven to me and solidified that he is definitely going to be that 1.52 F4 raised floor player. And I'm fine with him playing first base. I mean, obviously, I think his glove is better at third. I think you can live with the lesser pop at third or first. But what I really appreciate is he could have just got traumatized again. Okay, they figured me out. I'm done like he was last year. I've been really impressed with how he bounced back, how he's been responding to adversity. Because last year, that was something that I slammed him for. Because again, he looked like he was being held hostage. And it was like, this is an opportunity, man. Yeah, you went from a first-rate organization to a third-world organization. And that might take some adjustment, but you got an opportunity. The Dodgers weren't giving you an opportunity anymore. They had no time to wait around. But I appreciate that, you know what? He learned his lesson. He's been putting in the work. He's been willing to make the adjustments. I think he's going to be nothing more, though, than what you're seeing. Maybe a 7 to 750 OPS, which is, again, fine. They need those guys in the lineup. No more a lineup full of, 650 OPS guys. I mean, if he hits 227, that's fine as long as his OPS is in the 750 range. Get on base. You would like to see his on base percentage tick back up. But the slugging percentage, again, they need more guys that at least have a solid slugging percentage of 400. They need those guys too. And Colson is impressive. And I actually appreciate the organization doing everything they could to make him a viable player and not panicking, trying things. And I hope they apply that to more guys. But what I actually am appreciating about Colson Montgomery is the journey that he went through. The adversity he went through in the minors. Because it gives you confidence that maybe he can navigate in the majors. Now, hopefully, again, he learns from what happened to him in April at the minor league level when it was definitely looked like he was pressing. I mean, when I would turn on the Knights games, that guy was swinging at everything he could because he just wanted to get to the majors, and I think he was pressing. I think that Arizona reset that he had hopefully calmed him down and realized it's a game of failure. I mean, think about it. We used to celebrate Ted Williams is celebrated for hitting for 400. That means he went technically in a 10 at-bat span, he still got out 6 times. So I like that he has kind of also done, it sounds like, again, he's keeping a journal of things to be grateful for. It just sounds like he's got the right mindset. And, oh, yeah, he switched to the torpedo bat. Again, he's willing to make those adjustments. And since he's switched to the torpedo bat, 5 dingers. I hope they never get rid of that bat. I think it is better for baseball because, again, as I said in the first segment, you can construct better pitchers, but you still want to see some offense. And, again, it's not illegal. There's no cork in that thing. And some guys, it's not for them. For others, it's their lifeline. But I'm glad that Colson is meeting the moment, and hopefully he continues to meet the moment. And I guess the other reason why I'm just excited was because this season's been watchable. That's progress. White Sox baseball. We're watchable, but you know what? That's what they needed to be. They needed to be watchable. At least you can turn on a White Sox game, and I mean, especially they're 8-4 in the last 12 games. Now, again, there's been reminders that, there's still a long ways to go, but at least it's watchable. Well, the White Sox made a great trade yesterday with the Yankees with Austin Slater going to New York. Gage Ziehl is the pitcher with a cool name and a good slider that they got back. And I got some more information on him that I want to share with you after the break. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, shout out to all the everydayers. I appreciate your loyalty. Please hit the like button on today's episode. Recommend to your fellow Sox fans or baseball fans, friends, to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox, wherever they get their podcasts, as this show is available on all major podcast platforms. So anytime you can turn Austin Slater's ability to hit lefties into a top 30 prospect, I think you made a good trade. Because again, that's the value that Austin Slater provides. He will crush lefties, play a decent defense. He did everything that the White Sox asked of him. Come in, give us a couple months of production, and we'll get you to a contender. And he seemed to say nice things as he was walking out the door. I mean, he was still in the clubhouse when he was traded. The reporters talked to him. It wasn't like he was mad. It wasn't like he was saying, thank God, get me out of here, like some of these guys have been saying. He seemed to appreciate his time. And I think that's a good move. And I see some folks out there still that are like, we shouldn't have traded anybody. This is a good trade to be making. Because again, the White Sox can never have enough young arms. I know I railed against it in the first segment, but there's context. You can never have enough good young arms if you're trading, say, again, Austin Slater. Or again, if you can get a top 30 prospect for like Michael A. Taylor, do it. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I would still like to prefer the intangibles that Michael A. Taylor provides. But again, if you can get some decent pitchers for Mike Tauchman, got to think about it. Just Grant Taylor, I want him to, if you're going to trade Grant Taylor, I just want to bring in a fusion of more bats then. And think about this. Unless Slater goes on to hit the walk-off home run in Game 7 of the World Series, process-wise, the White Sox are always going to look good in this trade. I have to say process-wise because remember when the White Sox do business with the Yankees, it usually does not work out well for the White Sox. I mean, what was it? Blake Rutherford? He was supposed to be the stud. He never even got to the big leagues. So that. And I know some people are saying that he's Cody Medeiros. I don't know. I'd still rather take as many flyers right now, again, because we've seen, as many guys that can have a potential to get to the big league level, especially in that top 15 range, that top 30. Those are the guys that are usually ranked that have a shot. I'll take that over Austin Slater hitting lefties any day. And Ziehl slides into the White Sox top 30 at number 14 per MLB pipeline. So he goes from 18 in the Yankee system to 14. I'm not sure how the Sox, with a perceived better farm system, allows for a 4-spot jump, but pipeline has always had interesting ranking criteria. But the only reason why I keep citing them is hey, it's free. And they got some good people working there. They got some respected guys, and I think they try to do their best on there. But there's sometimes it's like, wait, he's 18th best for the Yankees, who are usually right now in the bottom 20. And I think MLB, has the White Sox ahead of them, pipeline. And it's like, wait a minute. And the White Sox have a pitching-rich prospect system, and yet he jumps to 14. But hey, whatever. Now, I did get a quick summary from Adam Weinrib. I've had him on the show a few times. He's the host of the Insiders podcast on Fansided with Robert Murray. He's the MLB contact director at Fansided. He is the co-site expert of Yankees Go Yard, part of the Fansided network. And he's, he provided a nice review to us in the SouthsideShowdown.com Slack chat. And here's what he wrote to us. Sort of a hybrid starter reliever at Miami. The Yankees loaded the heck up on pitchers with questionable stats, impressive stuff in last year's draft in hopes of replenishing their stockpile and dealing from it this year. It seems to have worked, but Hess, Cunningham, Herring all emerged more than Ziehl. He's been overshadowed a bit, finally got a deserved promotion last week, though, and is ready for high A. So that's kind of, decent review there. And then the New York Daily News is Gary Phillips. He shared this quote from Yankee scouting director Damon Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer had this quote during spring training, and I've got the quote up there for those watching on YouTube. This is on X, formerly Twitter, at Gary H. Phillips. Hashtag White Sox fans. Here's hashtag Yankee scouting director Damon Oppenheimer on pitching prospect Gage Ziehl from spring. Quote, he can pitch. Not a pure overpowering high-velocity guy, but still 92-95 with sink for ground balls, and now some ride for chase up top. Good slider and changeup. that can get weak contact and get under bats for miss. He usually has quality command, end quote. Then MLB.com White Sox beat writer Scott Merkin got a quote from White Sox player development director Paul Janisch on adding Ziehl. And this is what Janisch said, quote, and this is, I got the tweet up for those watching on YouTube. This is from @Scott Merkin. Paul Janisch on Gage Ziehl, quote, we are very excited to add Gage to the system. Our pitching group is excited about his arsenal and his potential to be a starter at the major league level. Personally, I love his reputation as a fierce competitor, end quote. Ziehl will go to high A Winston-Salem per Merkin. He did get a promotion, obviously Double A with the Yankees. Although, as I digged more in, reading around, Google search, talking to Adam, it almost sounds like maybe he was just a spot starter at Double A. And that happens. Guys sometimes move up and down. We've seen it with the Knights and that type of stuff. But it sounds like he probably needs a little bit more time at high A. And so I'm fine with him going to Winston-Salem. But it sounds like, he could be up if everything goes, according to Chalk. And again, his ceiling back into the rotation. And the White Sox need those guys. They especially need depth at those because you're always a Tommy John surgery away from losing time. Then Justice Sandal of the Miami Hurricanes on SI had this right up on Ziehl ahead of last year's draft that I found. Ziehl's strength has always been his cutter, which looks like a slider that is thrown in the mid-80s. Standing at 6 feet and 220 pounds, he carries a lot of weight with his size, but also generates a lot of power for his pitches with his frame. His four-seam fastball averages at 93 miles per hour, up to 95, and touched 97 during his freshman season. One of his best abilities is also his availability. He's been one of the most consistent players on the team's roster while improving his stats over the past 2 seasons as a quality starter. He has spent all 3 years of his career as a Hurricane, which also helps in his development within a power-heavy conference in the ACC with baseball. He saw most of his action in his sophomore and junior year, starting 15 and 16 games with an average ERA of 4.08. And then the Miami Herald's Jordan McPherson had this little nugget when Ziehl was drafted last year. Ziehl finished his junior season with a 3.87 ERA over 100 innings and 15 starts. He tossed a pair of complete games on March 15th against North Carolina and March 28th against Clemson. He also had 8 total quality starts to find his pitching at least 6 innings while giving up no more than 3 earned runs. 5 of those quality starts were in Atlantic Coast Conference play, UNC, Clemson twice, once in the regular season and again in the ACC tournament, Georgia Tech and Florida State. 2 of the others were against BYU and Florida. Over his 3-year UM career, Ziehl went 15-9 with a 4.07 ERA in 61 appearances, 31 starts, while striking out 241 batters in 227 2/3 innings. After starting in the bullpen as a freshman, Ziehl headlined Miami's weekend rotation as both a sophomore and junior. So again, that's impressive. You like the background. You like a lot of him. I believe he was the 88th ranked prospect too, and he fell to the 4th round. Again, part of my theory of the best guys that you have the chance of getting good big league contributions are usually in the top 150 picks. So if you can get that, that's huge there. Well, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I'll be back tomorrow with a recap on how the White Sox did at the trade deadline as plenty of rumors are pouring out. I've got some shorts out right now talking about Luis Robert Jr.'s trade market. Also, be on the lookout today, maybe for a bonus episode if the White Sox do make a trade. Feel free to leave comments about today's discussion regarding possibly trading Grant Taylor because the reliever market is going bonkers. Why hope was on display in yesterday's win over the Phillies, and some more information on Gage Ziehl. You can leave them at the episode page on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, at ToddJDub, or at Locked On Sox, or you can email me at LockedOnWhiteSox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.